online biology tutorials. In today's live, we will be reading Chapter 10, The Human Eye and the Colorful World. This is being taken from NCERT Class 10 Science. The book is followed in CBSE board. In case you are interested in hearing the audio of the first 9 chapters, the playlist has already been uploaded for it. The screen is clear to everyone. Let's begin with the reading of Chapter 10, The Human Eye and the Colorful World of Class 10. You have studied in the previous chapter about refraction of light by lenses. You also studied the nature, position, and relative size of images formed by lenses. How can these ideas help us in the study of the human eye? The human eye uses light and enables us to see objects around us. It has a lens in its structure. What is the function of the lens in a human eye? How do the lenses used in spectacles correct defects of vision? Let us consider these questions in this chapter. We have learned in the previous chapter about light and some of the properties. In this chapter, we shall use these ideas to study some of the optical phenomena in nature. We shall also discuss about rainbow formation, splitting of white light, and blue color of the sky. Next, the human eye. The human eye is one of the most valuable and sensitive sense organs. It enables us to see the wonderful world and the colors around us. On closing the eyes, we can identify objects to some extent by their smell, taste, sound they make, or by touch. It is, however, impossible to identify colors while closing the eyes. Thus, of all the sense organs, the human eye is the most significant one as it enables us to see the beautiful, colorful world around us. The human eye is like a camera. Its lens system forms an image on a light sensitive screen called the retina. Light enters the eye through a thin membrane called the cornea. It forms the transparent bulge on the front surface of the eyeball, as shown in figure 10.1. The eyeball is approximately spherical in shape with a diameter of about 2.3 centimeter. Most of the refraction for the light ray entering the eye occurs at the outer surface of the cornea. The crystalline lens merely provides the final adjustment of focal length required to focus objects at different distances on the retina. We find a structure called iris behind the cornea. Iris is a dark muscular diaphragm that controls the size of the pupil. The pupil regulates and controls the amount of light. Next page. Entering the eye. The eye lens formed an inverted real image of the object on the retina. The retina is a delicate membrane having enormous number of light sensitive cells. The light sensitive cells get activated upon illumination and generate electrical signals. These signals are sent to the brain via the optic nerves. The brain interprets these signals and finally processes the information so that we perceive objects as they are. 10.1.1 Power of accommodation. The eye lens is composed of a fibrous jelly like material. Its curvature can be modified to some extent by the ciliary muscles. The change in the curvature of the eye lens can thus change its focal length. When the muscles are relaxed, the lens becomes thin. Thus, its focal length increases. This enables us to see distant objects clearly. When you are looking at objects closer to the eye, the ciliary muscles contract. This increases the curvature of the eye lens. The eye lens then becomes thicker. Consequently, the focal length of the eye lens decreases. This enables us to see nearby objects clearly. The ability of the eye lens to adjust its focal length is called accommodation. However, the focal length of the eye lens cannot be decreased below a certain minimal limit. Try to read a printed page by holding it very close to your eyes. You may see the image being blurred or feel strain in the eye. To see an object comfortably and distinctly, you must hold it about 25 centimeters from the eyes. The minimum distance at which the objects can be seen most distinctly without strain is called the least distance of distinct vision. It is also called the near point of the eye. For a young adult with normal vision, the near point is about 25 centimeters. The farthest point upon which the eye can see objects clearly is called the far point of the eye. It is infinity for a normal eye. You may note here a normal eye can see objects clearly that are between 25 centimeter and infinity. Some things Sometimes the crystalline lens of people at old age becomes milky and cloudy. This condition is called cataract. This causes partial and complete loss of vision. It is possible to restore vision through a cataract surgery. So we are reading chapter 10, Human Eye and the Colorful World. 10.2 Defects of vision and their correction. Sometimes the eye may gradually lose its power of accommodation. In such conditions, the person cannot see the object distinctly and comfortably. The vision becomes blurred due to the refractive defects of the eye. There are mainly three common reflective defects of vision. These are myopia or nearsightedness, hypermetropia or farsightedness, and presbyopia. These defects can be corrected by the use of suitable spherical lenses. We discuss below these defects and their corrections. Next page. Myopia. Myopia is also known as nearsightedness. A person with myopia can see nearby objects clearly but cannot see distant objects distinctly. A person with this defect has a far point nearer than infinity. Such a person may see clearly upon a distance of a few meters. In a myopic eye, the image of a distant object is formed in front of the retina as seen in figure 10.2 and not at the retina itself. This effect may arise due to excessive curvature of the eye lens or due to the elongation of the eyeball. This defect can be corrected by using a concave lens of suitable power. This is illustrated in figure 10.2c. A concave lens of suitable power will bring the image back onto the retina and thus the defect is corrected. Hypermetropia. Hypermetropia is also known as farsightedness. A person with hypermetropia can see distant objects clearly but cannot see nearby objects distantly. The near point for the person is far away from the normal near point, 25 centimeter. Such a person has to keep a reading material much beyond 25 centimeter from the eye for comfortable reading. This is because the light rays from a close by object are focused at a point behind the retina as shown in figure 10.3b. This defect arises either because of the focal length of the eye lens is too long or eyeball has become too small. This effect can be corrected by using convex lens of appropriate power. This is illustrated in figure 10.3. C. Eyeglasses with converging lenses provide the additional focusing power required for forming the image on the retina. Presbyopia. The power of accommodation of the eye usually decreases with aging. For most people, the near point gradually recedes away. They find it difficult to see nearby objects comfortably and distinctly without corrective eyeglasses. This effect is called presbyopia. It arises due to the gradual weakening of the ciliary muscles and the diminishing flexibility of the eye lens. Sometimes a person may suffer from both myopia and hypermetropia. Such people often require bifocal lenses. A common type of bifocal lenses consists of both concave and convex lenses. The upper portion consists of a concave lens. It facilitates distant vision. The lower part is a convex lens. It facilitates near vision. These days, it is possible to correct the refractive defects with contact lenses or through surgical interventions. In text questions of Human Eye and the Colorful World, what is meant by power accommodation of the eye? Second, a person with a myopic eye cannot see objects beyond 1.2 meter distantly. What should be the type of the corrective lens used to restore power vision? Third, what is the far point and nearby point of the human eye with normal vision? A student has difficulty reading the blackboard while sitting in the last row. What could be the defect the child is suffering from? How can it be corrected? Think it over. You talk of wondrous things you see. You say the sun shines bright. I feel him warm, but how can he or make it day or night? Do you know that our eyes can live even after our death? By donating our eyes after we die, we can light the life of a blind person. About 35 million people in the developing world are blind, and most of them can be cured. About 4.5 million people with corneal blindness can be cured through corneal transplantation of donated eyes. Out of these 4.5 million, 60% of the children below the age of 12. So we have got the gift of vision. Why not pass it on to somebody who does not have it? What do we have to keep in mind when eyes have to be donated? Eye donors can belong to any age group or sex. People who use spectacles or those operated for cataract can still donate our eyes. People who are diabetic, have hypertension, asthma patients, and those without communicable diseases can also donate their eyes. Eyes must be removed within 4 to 6 hours after death. Inform the nearest eye bank immediately. The eye bank team will remove the eyes at the home of the deceased or at the hospital. Eye removal takes only 10 to 15 minutes. It is a simple process and does not lead to any disfigurement. Persons who were infected with or died because of the AIDS, hepatitis B or C, rabies, acute leukemia, tetanus, cholera, meningitis, or encephalitis cannot donate their eyes. An eye bank collects, evaluates, and distributes the donated eyes. All eyes donated are evaluated using strict medical standards. Those donated eyes found unsuitable for transplantation are used for valuable research and medical education. The identities of both the donor and the recipient remain confidential. One pair of eyes gives vision to up to four corneal blind people. Next one, 10.3, refraction of light through a prism. You have learned how light gets refracted through a rectangular glass slab. For parallel refracting surfaces, as in a glass slab, the emergent ray is parallel to the incident ray. However, it is slightly displaced laterally. How would light get reflected through a transparent prism? Consider a triangular glass prism. It has two triangular bases and three rectangular lateral surfaces. These surfaces are inclined to each other. The angle between its two lateral faces is called the angle of the prism. Let us now do an activity to study the refraction of light through a triangular glass prism. Activity 10.1. Fix a sheet of white paper on a drawing board using drawing pins. Place a glass prism on it in such a way that it rests on its triangular base. Trace the outline of the prism using a pencil. Draw a straight line PE inclined to one of the refracting surfaces, say AB, of the prism. Fix two pins, say at points P and Q, on the line PE as shown in figure 10.4. Look for the image of the pins fixed at P and Q through the other face AC. Fix two more pins at points R and S such that the pins at R and S and the images of the pins P and Q lie on the same straight line. Remove the pins and the glass prism. The line PE meets the boundary of the prism at point E. See figure 10.4. Similarly, join and produce the points R and S. Let these lines meet the boundary of the prism at E and F respectively. Join E and F. Draw perpendiculars to the refracting surfaces AB and AC of the prism at points E and F respectively. Mark the angle of incidence, angle of refraction, angle of emergence, that is angle E, as shown in figure 10.4. So 10.4 is showing you all the images. We are there on the next page here. PE is the incident ray, EF is the refracted ray, and FS is the emergent ray. You may note that a ray of light is entering from air and glass at a first surface AB. The light ray on refraction has bent towards the normal. At the second surface AC, the light ray has entered from the glasses to air. Hence, it has bent away from the normal. Compare the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection at each reflecting surface of the prism. Is this similar to the kind of bending that occurs in a glass slab? The peculiar shape of the prism makes the emergent ray bend at an angle to the direction of the incident ray. This angle is called angle of deviation. In this case, angle D is the angle of deviation. Mark the angle of deviation in the above activity and you can measure it. So we are reading Human Eye and the Colorful World. We are on dispersion of white light by a glass prism. You may have seen and appreciated the spectacular colors in a rainbow. How could the white light of the sun give us various colors of the rainbow? Before we take up this question, we shall first go back to the refraction of light through a prism. The inclined refracting surfaces of a glass prism show exciting phenomena. Let us find it out through an activity. Activity 10.2. Take a thick sheet of cardboard and make a small hole or narrow slit in its middle. Allow sunlight to fall on the narrow slit. This gives a narrow beam of white light. Now take a glass prism and allow the light from the slit to fall on one of the faces as shown in figure 10.5. Turn the prism slowly until the light that comes out of it appears on a nearby screen. What do you observe? You will find a beautiful band of colors. Why does this happen? So here we will be giving the explanation. The prism has probably split the incident white light into a band of colors. Note the colors that appear at the two ends of the color band. What is the sequence of colors that you see on the screen? The various colors seen are violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, as shown in figure 10.5. The acronym WIPJOR, which will help you to remember the sequence of colors. The band of the colored components of a light beam is called its spectrum. You might not be able to see all the colors separately. Yet, something makes each color distinct from the other. The splitting of light into its component colors is called type dispersion. Now, you have seen that white light is dispersed into its seven color components by a prism. Why do we get these colors? Different colors of light bend towards different angles with respect to the incident ray as they pass through a prism. The red light bends the least while the violet the most. Thus, the rays of each color emerge along different paths and thus become distinct. It is the band of distinct colors that we see in our spectrum. Isaac Newton was the first to use glass prism to obtain the spectrum of sunlight. He tried to split the colors of the spectrum of white light further by using another similar prism. However, he could not get any more colors. He then placed a second identical prism in an inverted position with respect to the first prism as shown in figure 10.6. This allowed all the colors of the spectrum to pass through the second prism. He found a beam of white light emerging from the other side of the second prism. This observation gave Newton the idea that sunlight is made up of seven colors. Any light that gives a spectrum similar to that of the sunlight is often referred to as the white light. A rainbow is a natural spectrum appearing in the sky after a rain shower. It is caused by the dispersion of sunlight by tiny water droplets present in the atmosphere. A rainbow is often formed in a direction opposite to that of the sun. The water droplets act like small prisms. They refract and disperse the incident sunlight, then reflect it internally, and finally refract it again when it comes out of the raindrop. Due to the dispersion of light and the internal reflection, different colors reach the observer's eye. You can also see a rainbow on a sunny day when you look at the sky through a waterfall or through a water fountain with the sun behind you. Next page. Atmospheric refraction. You might have observed the apparent random wavering or flickering of objects seen through a turbulent stream of hot air rising above a fire or a radiator. The air just above the fire becomes hotter than the air further up. The hotter air is lighter, less dense than the cooler air above, and has a high reflective index, slightly less than that of the cooler air. Since the physical conditions of the refracting medium air are not stationary, the apparent position of the object as seen through the whole air fluctuates This wavering is thus an effect of the atmospheric refraction or refraction of light by the Earth's atmosphere on a small scale in our local environment. The twinkling of stars is a similar phenomenon on a much larger scale. Let us see how we can explain it. Twinkling of stars. The twinkling of a star is due to the atmospheric refraction of starlight. The starlight, on entering the Earth's atmosphere, undergo refraction continuously before it reaches the Earth. The atmospheric refraction occurs in a medium of gradually changing refractive index. Since the atmosphere bends starlight towards the normal, the apparent position of the star is slightly different from its actual position. The star appears slightly higher above than its actual position when viewed near the horizon. Figure 10.9. Further, this apparent position of the star is not stationary but keeps on changing slightly. Since the physical conditions of the Earth atmosphere are not stationary and was the case in the previous paragraph, since the stars are very distant, they approximate point size sources of light as the path of rays of light coming from the star goes on varying slightly. The apparent position of the star fluctuates and the amount of starlight entering the eye flickers. The star sometimes appears brighter and at some other time fainter, which is the twinkling effect. Why don't the planets twinkle? The planets are much closer to the Earth and are thus seen as extended sources. If we consider a planet as a collection of a large number of point side sources of light, the total variation in the amount of light entering our eye from all the individual point side sources will average out to zero, thereby nullifying the twinkling effect. Advanced sunrise and delayed sunset. The sun is visible to us about 2 minutes before the actual sunrise and about 2 minutes after the actual sunset because of atmospheric refraction. By actual sunrise, we mean the actual crossing of the horizon by the sun. Figure 10.10 shows the actual and apparent positions of the sun with respect to the horizon. The time difference between actual sunset and the apparent sunset is about 2 minutes. The apparent flattening of the Earth's disk at the sunrise and the sunset is also due to the same phenomena. So we are reading Human Eye and the Colorful World, Scattering of Light. The interplay of light with objects around us gave rise to several spectacular phenomena in nature. The blue color of the sky, the color of the water in deep sea, the reddening of the sun at sunrise and the sunset at some of the wonderful phenomena we are familiar with. In the previous class, you have learned about the scattering of light by colloidal particles. The path of a beam of light passing through a true solution is not visible. However, its path becomes visible through a colloidal solution where the size of the particles is relatively larger. Tyndall effect. The Earth's atmosphere is a heterogeneous mixture of minute particles. These particles include smoke, tiny water droplets, suspended particles of dust, and molecules of air. When a beam of light strikes such fine particles, the path of the beam becomes visible. The light reaches us after being reflected diffusely by these particles. The phenomenon of scattering of light by the colloidal particles give rise to the Tyndall effect, which you have studied in class 9th. This phenomena is seen when a fine beam of sunlight enters a smoke filled room through a small hole. Thus, entering of light makes the particles visible. Tyndall effect can also be observed when sunlight passes through a canopy of a dense forest. Here, tiny water droplets in the mist scatter light. The color of the scattered light depends on the size of the scattering particles. Very fine particles scatter mainly blue light, while particles of larger size scatter light of longer wavelengths. If the size of the scattering particles is large enough, then the scattered light may even appear white. The last paragraph, 10.6.2, what is the color of a clear sky blue? Why is the color of the clear sky blue? The molecules of air and other fine particles in the atmosphere have size is smaller than the wavelength of the visible light. These are most effective in the scattering light of shorter wavelengths at the blue end than light of longer wavelengths at the red end. Red light has a wavelength about 1.8 times greater than the blue light. Thus, when light passes through the atmosphere, the finest particles in air scatter the blue light, shorter wavelengths, more strongly than red. The scattered blue light enters our eyes. If the eye has had no atmosphere, there would not have been any scattering. Then the sky would have looked dark. The sky appears dark to the passengers flying at a very high altitude, as scattering is not prominent at such heights. You might have observed that danger signal lights are red in color. Do you know why? The red is least scattered by fog or smog, therefore, it can be seen in the same color at a distance. The summary of human eye and the colorful world. The ability of the eye to focus on both near and distant objects by adjusting its focal length is called the accommodation of the eye. The smallest distance at which the eye can see objects clearly without strain is called the near point of the eye, or the least distance of distinct vision. For a young adult with normal vision, it is about 225 centimeter. The common refractive defects of vision includes myopia, hypermetropia, presbyopia, myopia, short-sightedness. The image of distant objects is focused before the retina, is corrected by using concave lens of suitable power. Hypermetropia, far-sightedness. The image of nearby object is focused beyond the retina, is corrected by using a convex lens of suitable power. The eye loses its power of accommodation at old age. The splitting of white light into its component colors is called dispersion. Scattering of light causes the blue color of the sky. So, in today's live class, very less number of students have joined, but we are finally done with the reading of Chapter 10, The Human Eye and the Colorful World, taken from NCERT Class 10 Science. This is chapter number 10. In case you are interested in hearing the audio of the first 9 chapters, a playlist has already been uploaded. For all the students who are seen right now, are you from grade 10? May I know your city? You can write it in the chat. And are you aware of how to take out the syllabus of class 10 from CBSE website? May I please know? We are having 2 students yet with us. Dear both, may I know how do you really know how to take out the syllabus from CBSE website? So students, in case this video was helpful, you can share it with your friends so that they can also enjoy this audio and revise the chapter. Stay connected. See you in next video. Thank you.